Hello everybody, my name is Michael with Apple Informed, and today I have a comparison and speed test between the 2018 11-inch iPad Pro and the iPhone XS Max. So these are currently the fastest mobile ARM-based processor devices that you can buy from Apple at the current moment. This of course doesn't count the Mac and MacBook lineup because those run on Intel chips, but these ARM-based processor devices are the fastest mobile devices that Apple does sell. The iPad Pro and the iPhone XS Max both have the A12 chip, but the iPad has the A12X chip and the iPhone only has the A12 chip. So what's the difference between these two chips? Well, really Apple adds the X at the end of the chip for devices that are a little bit better at graphics intensive tasks. And the only devices that get that X at the end of the name have been iPads in the past, because Apple really wants the iPads to be a lot better at graphics intensive things like video editing and photo editing. So the iPhone has never seen a chip with an X at the end of it. That has only been for the iPad lineup. So we're going to see today if the iPad with the extra X in the A12 chip does make a difference in real world usage and opening apps. And then we're going to do an internet speed test, a Geekbench test, and for my final test, I'm going to do a export test for a 1080p 60 FPS video in iMovie. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So let's go ahead and start with the Stocks app in 3, 2, 1. So it loaded about the exact same time on both devices. It looks like the iPad has a little bit more information to load because it loads about 3 stories, where on the iPhone it loads the stocks and about 1 story here at the bottom. And something that is kind of funny is that the iPhone actually has a dark mode in the Stocks app and the iPad is kind of a lighter theme. I think this is hinting at the fact that the iPhone might be seeing a dark mode coming sooner than later. It also may be because the iPhone has an OLED display and Apple really wants to take advantage of more dark elements to save battery life, but hit that like button and tell me in the comments below if you want to see a dark mode come to iOS 13, because that would make me very excited. I really want a dark mode, especially with the OLED display on the iPhone XS Max. So let's go ahead and move on to the next application, which is the App Store in 3, 2, 1. So it looks like it loaded a little bit faster on the iPad. You can tell me in the comments below if I was wrong there, but pretty much it had the exact same elements to load, except on the iPad the screen is a little bit larger, so it has to load more elements on the screen at once instead of the iPhone, where it only has to load this page and half of this page. On the iPad it has to load 4 full tabs, so it has more information to load, and really this test is dependent on your network connection, and that does vary based on a whole bunch of different aspects. So our next test is YouTube in 3, 2, 1. So it was pretty much the same. The iPhone only loads 2 videos and the iPad actually loads about 9 or 12 videos on the home page. So a little bit of an unfair test. The iPad has a lot more to load in the YouTube app. You can see that it is not optimized yet for the new iPad Pro, just because you can see it doesn't go completely into the rounded corners. But this might have a little bit to do with optimization, so it might get a little bit faster once Google updates the YouTube app, but a little bit faster on the iPhone just because it had a little bit less information to load on the homepage of YouTube. So the next app is Twitter, another web-based application in 3, 2, 1. So a lot faster by like a whole second on the iPad. You can always tell which app is going to open faster based on the Twitter animation when you first open the application. And it loaded a lot faster on the iPad Pro, and that's because Twitter actually updated the app. You can see here it goes into the corners completely, unlike the YouTube app, which we just saw. So it looks like these apps are getting optimized and updated for the new iPad Pro, and they are opening and performing a lot better than the iPhone version of the application. So the next app we have is a very simple app. It is a web-based application, the Apple Store. So let's go ahead and open it in 3, 2, 1. So it loaded there a little bit faster on the iPad Pro. Again, this is mainly a web-based application, so it's not going to be dependent on the CPU of each device, just dependent on your network speed of the device you're using. So let's go ahead and move on to the next application, which is Subway Surfers in 3, 2, 1. So it looks like it actually loaded exactly the same time on both devices, which is kind of surprising because the iPad Pro has the faster A12X chip, which like I said is better at graphics intensive tasks. So hopefully when they update this application for the new iPad Pro, it will take advantage of the new speed enhancements which were brought with the new chip in the iPad Pro. So you can see here it is not optimized for the new iPad Pro yet because it doesn't go into the rounded corners. So that's why it was a little bit slower, and it was opening at the exact same time time as the new iPhone. So let's go ahead and do an internet speed test. So this is really testing the Wi-Fi antennas in both devices, and throughout my usage I find that my iPhone actually gets better Wi-Fi reception than my iPad. So we'll see that right now. Let's go ahead and open the speed test, and we'll run the speed test in 3, 2, 1. So the ping was 16 milliseconds on the iPad and 15 on my iPhone. And I am paying for 75 up and 75 down with my ISP. So of course you're never going to get those numbers exactly, but we are going to see which device comes out faster at the end here. The iPad was 44 down and the iPhone was 45 down, so a little bit of a difference there. And the iPhone is starting a little bit slower on the upload, and it looks like the iPad is staying steady at around 50 or high 40s. So the iPad finished with a download of 44.3 and an upload of 47.9, and the iPhone was a little bit lower on the upload, but it was a little bit faster with the download. So of course, this does have different effects based on where your device is in relation to your router. My desk here underneath the glass is metal, so that might have something to do with the reception. So I think the Wi-Fi antenna on my iPad is on the back of the iPad, so that might have something to do with it. So it really is dependent on where you're using your device in relation to your router, but just kind of a test here to see that the Wi-Fi antennas are a little bit different in each device. So now we have a Geekbench test. Let's go ahead and run a CPU benchmark on both devices. So let's choose CPU. And wow, it's taking a very long time to load here on the iPad. That is very surprising. So you can see here we're both running iOS 12.1.1. We both have 4 gigs of RAM, and they're both clocked at 2.5 gigahertz. So very fair here, except the iPad has the A12X chip and the iPhone has the A12 chip. So let's go ahead and choose CPU and run benchmark in 3, 2, 1. So it looks like the Geekbench is wrapping up here on the iPad, and the iPhone is going to follow along quite shortly here. So here on the Geekbench test, you can see that the numbers are crazy on the iPad Pro, and this is really where the A12X stands apart from the A12 in the iPhone XS Max. 17,922, that's almost 18,000 on the iPad Pro, and 11,179. This score of 11,000 is still pretty impressive on the iPhone XS Max, because when the iPhone XS Max first came out, I was only getting a score of about 10,000. Now I'm getting a score of 11,000, so that is good. But on the iPad Pro, almost 18,000 in the multi-core score. That is insane. So this is all thanks to the new A12X chip as compared to just the A12 in the iPhone XS Max. So I think we're really going to see this extra multi-core performance come in handy when we do the exporting test in iMovie. So let's go ahead and do that now. I have the exact same video file loaded up in iMovie on both devices, and we're going to do an export of this movie. So you can see here I have the exact same video loaded up here in iMovie. Let's go ahead and do an export of both of these movies. So we'll hit done, and then we're going to export both of these videos, and we're going to go save video, and we're going to choose 1080p. Now it's exporting. I hit export at the exact same time, and now we're going to see which one exports faster. So we're getting close to the end on the iPad there. It exported on the iPad, and now we're still waiting for the iPhone to finish up. It should be done here in a few seconds. Still waiting. There we go. So the iPad had a lead by about 10 whole seconds there, and it is really impressive on the iPad, especially when you are exporting 4K video. Unfortunately, I did have some technical issues where I couldn't get a 4K video sample to load up in iMovie, but even exporting at 1080p video, it is a lot faster on the iPad Pro with the A12X chip as compared to just the A12 in the iPhone XS Max. So what did we derive from this speed test? Well, really we can see that the iPad Pro 2018 is hands down the fastest mobile device that Apple makes. This is the fastest iOS device we have ever seen Apple make, and the in-house chip team from Apple is really doing a fantastic job year over year at making these really fast chips in all of their devices. So if you're worried about your phone not being the fastest device you can get because the iPad Pro is a lot faster, don't be worried. The iPhone XS Max is still a crazy fast phone. It is still the fastest phone in the world, in my opinion. It outperforms all Android phones and all other iPhones before it. The iPad Pro just takes it to a whole other level. It has the extra multi-core performance. It has the extra graphics-intensive capabilities for the iPad Pro, and it just gives those extra capabilities for the pro users of the iPad, and it just is is a crazy fast device. So the iPhone is a really fast phone, and the iPad is just on a whole other level. So if you have both devices, your iPhone isn't going to be as fast as your iPad, but the iPhone is still a very well-performing device. So you guys can tell me in the comments down below what you thought about this test. Tell me if you have any of these devices. I'd love to hear what you guys think about them. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like on this video. My name is Michael with Apple Informed, and I'll see you in the next video.